Okay, have you ever had one of those days? You work your 8 hours, you head home, and you feel totally energized. But then another day, same 8 hours, and you're just completely wiped out. Well, we're gonna dive into a really fascinating reason why that happens. It's something called the daylight effect, and it shows how a little bit of sunlight can completely change how we feel about our entire day. So let me ask you this, because this is really the core of it all. You work a solid 8-hour shift. Maybe one week it's 9 to 5:30, the next it's 11 to 7. The time you put in is identical. So why does one schedule leave you feeling like, yes, the day is young, while the other just makes you want to crawl onto the couch? What is going on there?
It sounds kind of crazy, doesn't it? The exact same amount of time, the exact same work, but it feels like you're living a totally different life. And spoiler alert, it has nothing to do with the work itself. It's all about how our brain is wired to see the day. So let's break it down and look at two different scenarios.
First up, let's talk about the one that feels good. That classic 9 to 5:30 kind of day. What is it about this schedule that just hits different? This quote from our source material just nails it. You know that feeling, right? You walk out of the office, the sun is still out, and your brain just goes, okay, the day's not over. It doesn't see an end, it sees an opportunity. There's light, there's time, there's still life left to be lived. And look, this isn't just some vague vibe, right? It actually translates into real mental bandwidth. When you finish earlier, you actually have the space to learn a new skill, to tinker on that side hustle, or, to just be a person. Your day gets to have a second act that isn't just about recovering from work. All right, now let's flip that. Let's look at scenario 2. Same 8 hours, but this time the workday is from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. And as you're about to see, the experience is night and day. Literally. And this slide, man, it just lays it all out side by side. On the left, you've got that feeling of potential at 5:30. But on the right, when you clock out at 7 p.m., your brain just flicks a switch. It goes into night mode. It's this powerful, almost primal trigger that tells you, that's it, the productive part of the day is over. And just like that, the window for that second act slams shut. Now, you might be thinking, well, maybe the new job just stinks. But that's the thing, it doesn't. The source is super clear about this. The work is good, the team is awesome, the company culture is totally fine. And that's what makes this so interesting, because it lets us zero in on what's really making the difference. So if it's not the job, not the people, and the hours are literally the same, what on earth is going on here? Let's get to the reveal, because the answer is actually incredibly simple, but also really profound. And let's get a few things straight right off the bat. That exhausted feeling you get after a 7 p.m. finish, it's not because you were more productive or worked any harder. It's definitely not you being lazy. And it's not even classic burnout. It's something much more fundamental than all that. And there it is. That's the secret. That's the whole thing. When you walk out of that office and it's dark outside, your brain gets a signal it's been hardwired to understand for thousands of years. The day is done. Time to shut down. Time to rest. It's that simple. The daylight is gone. So what's the big takeaway here? This is way more than just one person's story about their job. It's a huge insight into the psychology of how we experience our own lives and how our environment shapes our entire perception of time. And check this out. This is the actual post that started this whole conversation. It's such a simple observation, but it just perfectly captures a feeling that so many of us have had, but couldn't quite put our finger on. It's a great reminder that tiny little changes to our daily routine can have massive effects on our minds. I mean, this quote really just says it all, doesn't it? Your work schedule isn't just a logistical detail on a calendar. It's actually drawing the line in the sand between your work life and your life. So this totally flips the script on what we think of as productivity. We're always told it's about discipline, about having more willpower, about just pushing through. But what if real productivity isn't about pushing harder, but about designing smarter, about setting up your day to work with your natural human psychology instead of fighting against it? So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you know about the daylight effect, how can you use it? How can you start designing your own day a little bit better? Maybe it's a small shift, maybe it's a big one, but how can you give yourself back a little more daylight, both literally and, metaphorically?